Jai Sparikar Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandharvika Giridhari Shri Shri Radha Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Jiv Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Jiv Ki Jai Jai Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Sudarshan Chakra Jiv Ki Jai Jai Shri Giriraj Govardhana Ki Jai Jai Shri Shri Nitai Gauranga Ki Jai Jai Shri Nrsimha Bhagavan Ki Jai Jai Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Jai Shri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai Mantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gopremanandi Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jataha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurun Dinataranam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaura Tushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. First of all, I'm offering my unlimited Dandavat Pranams and my Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Gurudev Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Astotara Sata Sri Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. And then I'm offering my same unlimited Dandavat Pranams and Shraddha Pushpanjali at the lotus feet of my most worshipable beloved Siksha Gurudevs Nitya Leela Pravishta Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Astotara Sata Sri Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Goswami Maharaj. And Nitya Lila Pravishta Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Asto Tarasata Sri Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. And my Dandavat pranams to the lotus feet of all of my Sri Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga. And my Dandavat pranams to all the Vaishnavas and all the Vaishnavis. Did you also go down?
Yes, we just got
Because I saw you when you were leaving.
Yes. We just got back
So
at
did
6.
I got back at 6:25. The 64 limbs of bhakti are tat tat karma. Now please tell me, what is the meaning of tat tat karma?
Those activities that are favorable for Krishna consciousness, or devotional service.
Right. So, in the list of favorable activities, which is the third shloka of Upadeshamrita, there are 6 items that are favorable for bhakti. Now, one of those items is called tat tat karma pravartana. Fourth. Yes, it's the 4th item, right, in the list of 6. But that 4th item is referring to doing all activities that are favorable for bhakti. So, we are reading this list. Actually, the list is spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Srila Sanatana Goswami. In the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 22, verses 115 through 129, we're reading that. So, we've gotten up to the 13th item, and that we discussed yesterday. The 13th item is to refrain from accepting many disciples. So very naturally, when we began to try to go deeper into an understanding of what this rule is about, why this restriction is there and so forth, we entered into a whole discussion about different levels of Vaishnavas. And we also read from Srila Prabhupada's Sri Upadeshamrita Nectar of Instruction, wherein Srila Prabhupada mentioned that there are 3 levels of Vaishnavas, according to the 5th shloka of Upadeshamrita. Rupa Goswami is saying one should respect each one of them according to their level. Gurudev used to say this a lot. Said that Vaishnavas must be respected according to their level. Because what happens is, if one does not give the appropriate and necessary respect to a very highly elevated Vaishnava, obviously that's an offense. But the opposite is also true. What is the opposite of that? To give too much respect to a neophyte devotee as if he is in an elevated position. Why is that not proper and not appropriate? Because go ahead.
It's not socially appropriate, but it's even inappropriate for the advancement of the individual to be so bewildered that they would become influenced by someone of a lesser caliber.
But also, when you disrespect, when you show too much respect, not according to the level of a kanishta, what is the way that Srila Rupa Goswami is told? Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta. Manasadriyeta means to respect in the mind. So any kind whatever level that they are in, can be respected in their mind, in the mind of the individual. Oh, this jiva, he's become a Vaishnava.
Maharaj, is it because the Kanishta is already thinking they're more advanced than they actually are? So if someone inadvertently gives them too much respect, instead of helping them, it puts them further into the illusion of thinking.
No, but the main thing is, which I'm by Kanishtas, not by Madhyams.
Right.
So both ways, if one offers too much respect to someone who's not qualified, or if one does not offer sufficient respect to the most qualified, both ways it's an offense against the elevated Vaishnavas. So that's why that verse is there, the 5th verse, telling that one must be their level. And what are the characteristics of that person? Rupa Goswami is also mentioning. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta. That means that he's always trying and endeavoring to chant the name of Krishna. A neophyte devotee. Sometimes it's interpreted that he has chanted once the name of Krishna. But he is chanted with proper mood. Because neophyte devotees are chanting, but they're committing many, many aparads as they chant. But someone who is trying to chant the name of Krishna, who is endeavoring to chant, they've come under the shelter of Guru. So they should always be respected in one's mind. But the next category, Dikshasti Chet Pranati Bish Chabhajantam Isham. Bhajantam Isham means what? He's engaged in trying to do bhajan to the Supreme Lord, Isha. Bhajantam Isham. He's worshipping the Lord. Dikshasti, he is taken. Ipsita Sangalabdhya. 2 whole lines are there to define that category of Vaishnava. Shushushaya. You know, this is also there in the very first 2 chapters, especially the 2nd chapter of 1st canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Shusho Shadadanasya Vasudeva Katha Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat. This verse, Shusho. Shusho. So here it says Shusrushaya. It's the same word. What is the meaning? Shrushaya. Okay, so Anasya Vasudeva Katha Ruchi in the beginning of Bhagavatam. By having Shraddha in the pure Vaishnavas and hearing from them, then what happens? Vasudeva Katha Ruchi. Ruchi comes, taste comes for hearing Vasudeva Katha. Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra. Very great achievement from that service. Srila Prabhupada translates it. Great service is done when one serves such personalities. So in the 3rd category, Rupa Goswami is telling Shaya Bhajana Vigyam Ananyam Anya Nindadi Shunya. So what does that mean? So many beautiful words strung together by Rupa Goswami. Shushushaya Bhajana Vigyam. Now first he's telling Shushushaya means you should serve those personalities. Who? Which personalities? Bhajana Vigyam. Bhajana Vigyam means that they have Vigyan, full realization of bhajan. They're doing 24 hours. Manasi Seva, Radha and Krishna's 24 daily pastimes, 24 hours, Ashtakal Lila, Shushushaya Bhajana Vigyam, and Ananya. Ananya means they have nothing else. They're completely Ananya Bhaktas, fully absorbed 24 hours a day. Ananya, then it says, Anya Nindadi Shunya Hridaya. Anya Nindadi Shunya Hridaya. What is the quality of these persons? That for others, that means all others, they are Nindadi Shunya Hridaya. They have no tendency at all to have envy, because it says Ninda Adi. Ninda Adi is referring not only to Ninda, meaning blaspheming to others or criticizing. Nindadi Shunya. Shunya means their heart is completely devoid, has no tendency whatsoever. Nindadi Shunya Hridaya. So Ninda Adi means what? Lust, anger, greed, envy, illusion. They have none of that in their heart at all. These are their symptoms. You can only understand that when you associate with these personalities. Right? Unless you associate with them, how are you going to know what kind of internal moods they have, what kind of qualities, character, everything? Problem is that neophyte devotees cannot recognize. That's the shortcoming and the deficiency of a Kanishta in the lower stages of Kanishta, that they have no ability to see and to recognize who are bhaktas, who are the bhaktas, what level of bhakti are they on, and they commit offenses. This holds them back. So therefore Rupa Goswami is writing under the instruction of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nindadi Shunya Hridaya Ipsita Sangha Labdhya. Sangha Labdhya means very desirable. Their Sangha, their association, is to be sought after. It is so desirable. It is so beneficial. Everything can be attained from that. Therefore, it is very important to learn how to properly serve them, how to properly hear from them and respect them. Madhyam adhikaris have that tendency. And they will be extremely careful to commit any offenses against such personalities. However, it happens. We see in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, especially Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj's book, Heart of Krishna, chapters after chapters of so many incidences in the Shastras, of even quite elevated personalities sometimes committing offenses, like Daksha to Lord Shiva. He's not an ordinary low-level jiva. He's a Prajapati in the universe. He's actually a devotee. He's a devotee. They're Vaishnavas. But yet, his heart was not clean and pure. So he committed blasphemy against Lord Shiva, and you know what ensued after that. You know? So all these different incidences from the Shastras are warning about being very, very careful not to commit offenses. And in Chaitanya Leela especially, there are so many different personalities who committed Vaishnava Aparadh and were rejected by Mahaprabhu, until later they repented and received mercy of the Vaishnavas. But some were destroyed. Ramachandra Khan was not so lucky. And he not only offended Vaishnavas, he offended Sri Guru Tattva personified, Lord Nityananda Prabhu. So, no chance. He was destroyed. So that's very important. And here's the thing now. To refrain from accepting many disciples is a protection for the Vaishnavas. Because first of all, it's a very big defect. Srila Sridhar Maharaj explained in Sri Guru and His Grace. If one has the mentality that I am Guru. It's also an offense if the neophyte disciples of that Guru, they have a sectarian mood. Mat Gurushi Jagat Guru. That's the term he uses. My Guru is Jagat Guru. Certainly, all devotees should try to see their Guru as manifestation of Krishna, right? Sakshat Hari. They're encouraged to do that. Srila Sridhar Maharaj also encouraged that the ISKCON devotees would also have those moods towards their gurus. Gurudev also encouraged this. But if those gurus are thinking, I'm a very exalted guru, then that will be very dangerous. That will be very dangerous. So generally, it's not so easy for a Kanishta to take that role of trying to help others in the formal way. You know, when I say formal way, I'm talking about accepting disciples and Diksha and all of that. Generally, it is not a very easy thing for them to do because of the amount of anarthas that are still remaining, and they can get sparked. But Srila Sridhar Maharaj told one very important thing, because there's a warning here, right? There's a warning here that one should not accept too many disciples. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj explained, when there is a person who wants to start a business, he's starting his business with a little bit of capital, right? Has a little bit of money, so he invests and he begins to start a small-scale business, right? So that person, with his small amount of capital, he can do some level of business, but it will still remain small because he only has very limited capital. But if that small little businessman comes under the not shelter, just under, he receives help from a greater capitalist. This is what term he used. When a larger, a bigger capitalist helps the smaller capitalist, then his business can go on very nicely. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj used this example in terms of accepting disciples by persons who are not yet on the highest level. They must be under the direction of those who are on the higher level. Otherwise, it will be dangerous, even suicidal, you know, and we've seen so many times. So Srila Sridhar Maharaj was trying to fulfill Srila Prabhupada, our Prabhupada's request to him to help his disciples and even to come into ISKCON and all. And the order that was given by Prabhupada to the leaders of ISKCON before Prabhupada left the planet, just before, to go to my godbrother, Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj. And for some time, they were accepting his guidance and help. But what happened? Their anarthas became inflamed. And the mood of desiring to be a very big guru and to have so many disciples bowing down and worshiping, they were destroyed and committed so many aparats. Same thing when they came to Gurudev as well. So the warning is there. One should understand one's capacity. The Vaishnava should understand his capacity in giving shelter and accepting disciples. And one very important thing, probably the most important of all, he should always be trying to lead his disciples to higher Vaishnavas. Then everything can go on very, very nicely. Jai Shri Shri Radha Govinda Ki Jai. So this is something essential. This principle of refraining from accepting many disciples. And especially for those who are not, they've made some advancement, but not yet sufficient advancement to stand on their own. Actually, they're never really standing on their own, because the whole point is that those who are on the highest level, they're never standing on their own. They're completely under the shelter of their guru, and under the shelter of his guru, and his guru, and his guru. And that's their qualification. You know, go ahead.
But it doesn't say that one should not accept this. He could have easily said one should not accept disciples.
Yes.
But he doesn't say that.
No.
He says one should not accept
Many.
many disciples.
Right, that's right. So we've seen in our own life how certain truly, truly divine, exalted Mahabhagavad personalities have accepted many disciples. But they have no desire at all for having many disciples. They're doing this only as seva, only as service. No enjoying tendency at all. So now we move on to the item number 14, which is to give up the partial study of many scriptures, and to give up, this is a little strange how it's worded here, to give up the partial study of many scriptures and giving expanded commentaries on them. Give up the partial study. Here it says partial study of many scriptures and giving expanded commentaries on them. So what is this referring to? Which scriptures is it referring to? What is the meaning of partial study of the scriptures? And then giving so many expanded commentaries on them.
Of course, one shouldn't just concentrate on 10th canto and then not study, have no background and understanding the first 9 cantos and only making commentary on them. I'm sure it must be specific to that, but there's so many correlative Vedas. But in studying, we're always under guidance, so that our guru is telling us which scriptures to fully understand. And so if one goes off beyond that, then
in other words, it's essential to hear properly and to study properly under the proper guidance the specific literatures of our disciplic succession. There are also very many. But in India, as we know, there are so many different Vedic corollaries and Puranas and many different scriptures that are related to the Vedas, right? So this will not be helpful if one is just partially studying a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. There should be a proper study of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita. In our line, these are the important books. And after properly studying them, then one can properly study the books of the 6 Goswamis and so forth, and the Acharyas. So then one gets a full, complete, well-rounded understanding. And they come to a point of having tattva gyan and knowledge of Siddhanta Vit. So after this section, then there's a description of each one of these items. So I'm just giving some little preliminary, delving into it a bit. The number 15, to be equipoised in loss and gain. What does that mean? Equipoised. If you lose something.
to not lament in loss and not be so excited in gain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. to not be overwhelmed with lamentation in loss, because anyone can lose everything at any moment. Is it true or not? Huh? At any moment, all can be taken away, especially up here in Badger. At certain months of the year, we have a awareness that everything can just burn to the ground. You see? But in life, this is the nature of this material world. Sometimes there is loss of so many things. Even loss of one's own health. It's a very big loss. You know what Srila Bhakti Ballabhatirtha Maharaj told one time? I always like this very wise statement of his. He said, if one loses his money, he's lost nothing. If one loses his health, he's lost something. But if one loses his character, he has lost everything. He has lost everything. Character. So one should be equipoised, because this is one of the principles of bhakti here. So if one is actually doing bhakti, then that will be a way of serving Krishna. Bhakti means service to Krishna. So Krishna wants that in this world one should depend upon him. And if loss is coming, very equipoised. If gain is coming, very equipoised. Number 16, to not be overwhelmed by lamentation. To not be overwhelmed by lamentation. There's a meaning to the word Shudra. There is a particular meaning to this word Shudra. It means one who laments. One who laments is the nature of a Shudra, fourth-class person. Because, why are they lamenting? They don't have knowledge. They have not been illuminated with true transcendental knowledge, because they're in the low modes of ignorance. Shudras are in the mode of ignorance. Vaishyas are in the modes of mixed passion and ignorance. Kshatriyas are in the mode of passion, and Brahmanas are in the mode of goodness. So the general mass of people, generally the largest percentage of the human population is in the fourth class category. And as one becomes more properly cultivating the higher qualities of mode of goodness, then the numbers, the percentage of the population becomes less. So Krishna's instructions here are to not be overwhelmed by lamentation. So all of these are tests in our life. We have to learn how to pass these tests. Everything will not always be cushy. That will not happen. Because as Gurudev told, material world is like the waves of the ocean. If you're sitting on the beach, the waves will continue to crash, one after the other, and they will not stop. So that is the nature of the material world. Number 17 is to refrain from hearing criticism of any demigods or of any scriptures. To refrain from hearing criticism of any demigods or any scriptures. How should we properly, what should be our proper attitude toward the demigods?
Respect their devotees.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Should we become worshippers of the demigods? No. Here it's told that we should refrain from hearing criticism of them. It does not say that one should become their follower, their worshipper, nothing. And also of the scriptures. The scriptures should not be criticized. And even in this case, there are scriptures for those who are in the lower modes of nature as well. And for them, even there are upadharmas, the various faiths, like Christianity and Muslim and Jewish and Buddhist. These faiths are there for persons in certain modes of nature before they come to the Vedic conception. So, therefore, one should not criticize those persons. One should try to help them gradually. But for some, it may not be possible to help them. I'll tell you a story. I think I told this before. You might have heard this. That one of our sannyasis in the Gaudiya Mutt, he's from Texas originally, and he's passed away. His name was Rishikesh Maharaj. First initiated by Prabhupada, second by Srila Bhakti Rakshak Sridhar Maharaj, and sannyas from Bhakti Pramod Puri Maharaj. So I knew him quite well. He was actually a brain surgeon, very high level, genius person. But he gave all that up. Became a devotee in Berkeley, California, and was under Hansadutta in the beginning, and then he went to Malaysia, and the whole story of his service. And he came to Gurudev also, and stayed with Gurudev for some period, printed some books as well in Malaysia. So he told me the story once, that when he was preaching in Malaysia, which you know is just a very short flight from Calcutta. From Calcutta to Kuala Lumpur is like two-hour or maximum 3-hour flight. So he used to go back and forth and then visit with Srila Sridhar Maharaj, but then he would come back and he would preach. He did a lot of preaching all throughout Malaysia. So he told me the story that when he flew in from Malaysia one time and came into Calcutta, and we all know that Calcutta is a pretty chaotic city, and there's a lot of worship of Kali in Bengal, West Bengal, Kali worship and so forth. And it happened that he flew into Calcutta during the Kali Puja time period. And everything was quite wild, and there was a lot of slaughtering of goats and all of this. And deities of Kali everywhere. You know, the deities of Kali in her pose of like that. Yeah. So he kind of like made his way through Calcutta, got on the train or whatever to come from Calcutta to Navadvip. And when he arrived in Navadvip, he told to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, oh yes, I've just come from Malaysia right now. And I just went through Calcutta in the middle of their Kali Puja period. And he began to kind of denigrate that, oh, these people, they're just like killing animals, and they're in a mode of ignorance, this and that, you know. So you know what Srila Sridhar Maharaj said? He said, this is the nature of you Westerners, that you always want to look down on everyone else and criticize them. And then he explained to him, he said, these people who are in this lower mode of nature, at least they are in connection with the Vedic conceptions. They may be on a very low level in the mode of ignorance, but they have some connection. But if they did not have this, they would not have any religion at all, these kind of people. So for them, this is a step upwards. And he learned from that statement of Srila Sridhar Maharaj to never, look in that way towards others, because all the living entities are Krishna's parts and parcels, but because of their karmas, they're situated in different levels. So those who are on the higher level of God realization, they'll not criticize those that are in the lower level, but they'll try to help them to advance. Try to help them. So that's why such a statement is here, that one should refrain from criticizing demigods and also various scriptures. Number 19, to refrain from hearing gossip. And in parentheses it says here, for the word gossip, topics related to sense enjoyment. This is gossip. We read all about this when we were talking about Prajalpa, remember? In this same book of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So many varieties of Prajalpa. So the general principle of being a bhakta is to refrain from hearing gossip. Any comments on this?
I think gossip can be extremely dangerous because whether it's the village, like where we live in Navadri, whether it's the streets of New Dwarka, you know, I've noticed through many decades that actually most gossip is not even true.
Right.
And so what happens is...
And it's third and fourth and fifth hand.
And so when people say something, they're not only gossiping, you know, talking about sense gratification, but they're actually making an offense because they're saying something that's not true. So it's very dangerous.
Well, another thing is that we just read this recently in our class, that by speaking gossip, which means talking about others, that's what gossip really is always referring to, talking about others. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur explained, by doing this, one makes very many enemies. Very many enemies. Because by talking about others, you come into a position of committing some type of criticism against others, this, that, giving your opinions. So that's why pure Vaishnavas never use their tongues to talk gossip. Never. Never. Everything they speak is related to Krishna and Krishna's service, and related to all the Vaishnavas who are serving the Lord. You never ever find, ever, that pure devotees are gabbing about gossip. No, never. So now, number 20 is to refrain from causing anxiety to any living entity through one's body, through one's mind, or through one's words. Any living entity. Whether they're in the tree body, plant body, insect body, animal's body, whatever. To refrain from causing anxiety to any living entity. Number 21, to hear narrations about Bhagavan. This is a very big one. This is a devotional principle, number 21. To hear narrations about Bhagavan. Is that a good thing for devotees to do? Is it good for devotees to hear narrations about Bhagavan? Yeah? What kind of narrations should we hear? We should hear the Shastras and the instructions of gurus and great acharyas and Vaishnavas. We should hear about the pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his various incarnations, and especially as Krishna in his original form, as is given in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. We should hear about how Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita, which anniversary is coming up on the 25th. On the Ekadasi day of the 25th is Gita Jayanti Day. So that's the life of the devotees, is to hear narrations about Bhagavan. If somebody is never hearing the narrations about Bhagavan, they're not a devotee. Or they're just a very, very beginning stage. Number 22, to chant his names. Is that a good thing for devotees to do? To chant the names of Bhagavan? Do we do that here in our new Braj community? Do we chant the holy names of Bhagavan? We do? How do we do it? When do we do it? In what form do we do chanting the holy names of Bhagavan?
During Archie.
Yes. Yes.
Japa.
Huh?
Japa.
Yes.
Japa.
Very good.
Even Gayatri.
Yes. Gayatri. What about classes? When we're speaking about Bhagavan, that's also chanting. Number 23, to remember him. How much do we do that? We try. Some try more than others. Some have learned how to try to remember him constantly. But that remembering is the 23rd principle. Number 24, to worship the deity form of the Lord. Yes, we are doing that. We're sitting in the transcendental palace with the Supreme Lord and his eternal consort on their throne. And we are worshiping them in his deity form. Number 25, to recite prayers. I'm just going to go through this now. Number 26, to serve him with various articles. Number 27, you see, this is about deity worship, a lot of this. Number 27, to accept servitorship, to become a servant, to accept the position of, I am a servant of Krishna, Hari, Guru, and Vaishnavas. Number 28, to regard the Lord as one's friend, Sakyam. To regard the Lord as one's friend. Number 29, to absolutely surrender one's very soul. One's very soul. Atma Nivedana. Surrender of one's own Atma. And everything pertaining to one's Atma. Atma Nivedana. Number 30, to dance in front of the deity form of the Lord. Yes. But that dancing should also be appropriate, not inappropriate. What is inappropriate dancing?
Dancing with a partner.
Well, but
Like
what
for
kind
your
of
own
dancing?
Sorry, for your own sensual pleasure or something.
Yeah.
Because you've seen young girls do that.
Or,
Brand new people.
break dancing in front of
Oh gosh. Break dance.
See, the thing is that dancing is an automatic, it's an automatic effect of chanting sincerely, that one will want to dance. But if somebody is trying to show off, look at me dance, then that is not very high level of bhakti, just because one is moving their body. I remember we went to the Woodstock Festival of Poland in 2010, and we were there for a few days. Indradumna Swami has been doing it for a couple of decades, 2-3 decades. We met with him also, and ISKCON had a very nice arrangement there, which they will do every single year, still doing. I don't know about during the COVID, probably not. That's all all stopped. But at any rate, we had our own little setup in not a tent, but it was, what do you call it? An awning?
Pandal.
Not a pandal. It was a Western style tent, not very big, probably not bigger than the square footage here in this temple room. It didn't have sides on it. It just had the roof part, tent materials. And then it had a back. And we had these Polish devotees invited us to come there. I was there with Shroti Maharaj and another sannyasi. And we did kirtan. And we were quite a distance away from the main stage. We were way up on a hill. So closer to the main stage where all the people were, but it was like the whole hill was full of people. And we were up there on the hill, and we had our own sound system. And we're chanting and playing harmonium, Madanga kartals. And many, many young people were coming in to the tent, right? Now, these young people, girls and boys, they started gyrating to our kirtan. And certain melodies we were playing, they got into it, and so then some crowd would come, then they'd go out, and then others would come, and this went on for a number of hours, you know. So now these people, maybe some of them even for the very first time, they're coming into the association of the devotees, and they're seeing that there's music and that there's dancing, and they take part, you know, and some of them are dancing quite inappropriately. Pelvic, that's the word that we used. Now, for those persons on that level, this is beneficial for them. It's beneficial because they have no knowledge. So just for them to come into the kirtan and dance, we saw also Prabhupada in Tompkins Square Park, where various persons got up and danced. I especially like on that black and white film footage, where the devotees are going like in this circle, you know, but they're going like very slowly in a circle, and they're doing the Swami step because they had learned the Swami step. And you can see this girl, she's probably not a devotee. Maybe she became a devotee, I don't know. But, you know, she was in her 20s, looked like. And, you know, she's also doing that and trying to become absorbed in the mantra and the chanting and all of that. Practically, she wasn't even chanting, but she was dancing along. And then she did this whole thing with her arms. I did it the other day at the party. You know, she went like this. You know, and it looked quite like, oh, maybe she's doing some Arabian dancing or this or that, you know. For that person, this was very beneficial, and she's in the presence of Srila Prabhupada even, you know. But would that be appropriate for all the devotees to do that? Yeah. There's a limit. I know there's a story, I've heard it a number of times spoken by Mahabodhi Prabhu, the brother of Gurudev. And he's a very well-known devotee and done tremendous services, and he's in Chicago currently, you know. Anyway, he told me this story that when Srila Prabhupada came to Chicago in 1975, and all the Radha Damodar buses came there, and that was towards, well, the library party had already, the Bhaktivedanta Book Trust Library Party had already started out from the end of 73, 74. So this is in the summer of 75. And all these Radha Damodar parties were there. I think our Vaikanas Maharaj was there. And all the buses came. So they were installing also many sets of Gaur-Nitai deities. And so Guru Puja was a very big Guru Puja. It was a very big temple room. It was used to be a basketball court, and they converted it in a YMCA building. They converted it into the temple room. And they built a very big altar, and so Srila Prabhupada had a beautiful, large Vyasasan they built, and he was sitting on the Vyasasan, and they were doing Guru Puja to Srila Prabhupada, singing the song, Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma. And the young men in the Radha Damodar party, and all the devotees, they started getting very excited during the Guru Puja, and they began doing a dance which he described as being somewhat like disco dancing. Mm-hmm. And Srila Prabhupada actually stopped the kirtan. He stopped the kirtan in front of hundreds of devotees. And he said, not like that. Like this. So, the point is that if someone is doing dancing, but they're completely absorbed in, look at me, this is not bhakti. And for those who are advancing more, they should understand what's appropriate and what's inappropriate. You'll never see, ever, pure devotees doing that kind of dancing. Never. So, it says here to dance in front of the deity form of the Lord. That's the 30th item. Yes?
So, I was just going to say, I'm thinking the reason that we dance is because, like you were saying, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and their associates dance. That's why we dance. Because we're
we dance
following
because
their example.
That's true. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Nityananda danced. And their associates all danced. And then this movement, Srila Prabhupada explained, is 3 things. This Hare Krishna movement is 3 activities. Do you know that special statement of Srila Prabhupada's?
Singing, dancing, and feasting.
Chanting,
dancing,
and taking prasadam, but feasting, yeah. This is for who? The general mass of people. The Hare Krishna movement is full of dancing. The spiritual world is full of dancing. But the point that why I'm discussing this is that there should be proper dancing, And over the years, I've seen a lot of very, very improper dancing. It doesn't mean that you can't get wild. Sure, devotees can also dance wildly. Even Mahaprabhu danced wildly. If you hear the description of his dancing in the Ratha Yatra, you can't get more wild and so fast, like a firebrand, jumping up, crashing to the ground. But we can't imitate this. You cannot imitate. But dancing will come in the stage of bhav, absolutely without any endeavor. Loud chanting, dancing, weeping, laughing, all these are symptoms of very high stages. So I'll just go a couple more minutes. I'm taking the luxury because there's no one stopping. Yes. Yes.
The kids like Gauranga and Gaur Krishna, they like to go in a circle, because they're excited and they're happy. Is why they like to do that.
You want to make a comment? How should we understand what her point that she's bringing up?
Well, they're kids, so they're naturally energetic. So I suppose if they're under guidance, they can then be, letting all their energies out. But if there's not guidance, then it could turn into anything. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Anything further?
No, I mean, of course they're under guidance when they're in the RT and all the parents are there and everyone's there. But
No,
I just
that
think,
doesn't mean they're under guidance. Just
Oh.
because the parents are there and everyone is there, that doesn't mean that they're under guidance.
Mm.
The temple room is not a playground.
Mhm.
Is there a difference between the yard here, where they run and scream and run around, and the temple room? Is there a difference between these two places, these physical locations?
Absolutely.
So it's
Please
not a
tell what the
natural
difference
thing.
is, Hansagati Prabhu.
Oh.
The difference is that outside they can be free and act like monkeys and cats and dogs
Yeah.
and horses.
Scream.
Yeah. Well, in the temple they have to realize this is Krishna's temple. They have to have reverence.
Okay. What were you going to say?
No, I just think they're naturally happy to be in RT. That's how I look at it. Yeah, sometimes they get a little, out of hand. But that's my opinion.
We all look at it in that way,
Mm-hmm.
but there's a limit. One day, I stopped. I didn't stop, but at the end, I sat before everybody went for lunch.
Mm-hmm.
You might have been there. I don't know if you were, but Nitya was here and so many others. And I said, kids, please come. And in the presence of the parents, I explained, because none of them were chanting. None of the kids were chanting at all. And it just kept going on and on and on and on and on. Okay? That is not appropriate dancing by children or anyone in the temple room of the Supreme Lord. Okay? Yes, of course, the kids are exuberant, but if they're doing like they're doing outside in the yard. Now, the younger the kids are, the less awareness that they have. They haven't developed that properly. We see like toddlers, like, Narottam and so forth. But they have to be controlled by the parents to some extent, of course, But you brought it up about the children, so that's why I'm speaking on it right now, because there's a difference between children and adults, and there's codes of behavior for each one on each level. But the parents are responsible, and not just the parents, but the senior Vaishnavas are also responsible. Otherwise, why are they uncles and aunties, okay, to the kids? It doesn't mean that you just let them run wild and free and do anything they want, anytime, any place. No, there has to be some discipline. That's how they learn. And so after I made that, it was very much appreciated. I told them, I says, we love you so much, all of us. We love you kids so much, but we want to see that you're also singing the names of the Lord and the prayers. So from that point, they started to sing. We like to see them sing Jashamati Nandan, Jairadi, or what is it, Jairada Madhava, and so forth. And then they do their Radhe Radhe Govinda, like that. So that's all appropriate. But if there's too much wild and just going in circles, then that's not productive for bhakti to the Supreme Lord.
Everyone should be taught that it's for pleasing
Yes,
the deities. That
we're
we are
in
here.
this room for them, and according to one's level of realization, they will have an awareness that the Lord is here in this temple, and I should be directing my moods of devotion and my efforts to sing, to chant, to play musical instruments for their pleasure. It's not for mine, This is not some musical ensemble just for the sake of making music. No, we're doing this for the Lord. So anyway, you brought it up. I didn't bring it up about that. But that's because we're finishing now to dance in front of the deity form of the Lord. To sing to him also. To sing to him. The next one, 32. Reveal one's mind to him. And offer prostrated obeisance to him. 34. To show respect to Bhagavan or a devotee. To show respect to Bhagavan or a devotee by standing when seeing them coming or by going forward to welcome them. And of course, this is talking about advanced Vaishnavas. Number 35, to follow behind a devotee or Bhagavan for some distance when they depart. When they depart. Number 36, to visit holy places, tirthas and temples. 37, to perform parikrama. 38, to recite various hymns. 39, to chant japa. Number 40, samkirtan, congregational chanting. Number 41, to accept the flower garlands, incense, and sandalwood paste that have been offered to Bhagavan. 42, to honor and serve Mahaprasad. 43, to have darshan of Bhagavan's arti and festivals. 44, to have darshan of the Lord's deity form. 45, to offer Bhagavan those items that are very dear to oneself. If you have something that is dear to you, you should offer that to the Lord. To offer Bhagavan, number 46, to perform meditation on Bhagavan and persons and things related to him. Meditation. 47, to serve Tulsi. 48, to serve the Vaishnavas. 49, to reside in a dham such as Mathura. 50, to relish Srimad Bhagavatam. 51, to perform all one's endeavors for Krishna. 52, to await his mercy. 53, to celebrate the appearance day of Bhagavan with devotees in grand festival. 54, to surrender in all respects. 55, to observe Kartik Vrat and other vratas. 56, to wear the signs and the markings of a Vaishnava. 57, to write and to wear the holy names on one's body. 58, to accept the remnant garlands of Bhagavan or the devotees. 59, to honor Sharanamrita. 60, to associate with saintly persons, Sat Sangha. 61, to perform Nam Kirtan. 62, to hear Srimad Bhagavatam. 63, to reside in Mathura, or Holy Dham. And finally, 64, to serve the deity with faith. So that's the list. Now begins the explanation in more detail of each item on this list. We'll continue tomorrow. Gaur Premanandi. Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Srila Guru Goswami Pada ki jai. Srila Panuga Guru Varga ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudev ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Vansha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Vrindai Tulsidevi Priyai Keshavasya Cha Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Satyavachai Namo Namaha Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. All glory to the assembled devotees.